Jaya Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parivakachar Sotar Sadashishimad. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananikoti Vaishnava Vinda Ki Jai. Namachar Srila Haridasa Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Zakho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasiri Gaura Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhani Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shishi, Guru, and Gauranga. Glory to Srila Prabhupada. So reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 3rd chapter, text 19. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavan Api Vishvatma Loka Veda Pratanuga Kaman Siseve Dwarkvatyam Asakta Sankyam Astita Bhagavanapi Vishvatma Loka Veda Pratanuga Karman Siseve Dwarkvatyam Ashakta Sankyam Astata Bhagavanapi Vishvatma Loka Veda Patanuga Karmam Siseve Dwarkvatyam Ashakta Sankhya Astitaha. Someone could chant. Mataji's? Okay, word for word. Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Api, also. Vishvanatma, the super soul of the universe. Loka, customary. Veda, Vedic principles. Pata anugaha, follower of the path. Kaman, the necessities of life. Siseve, enjoyed. Dwarkvatyam, in the city of Dwaraka. Ashakta, without being attached. Sankyam, knowledge in Sankhya philosophy. Astitaha, being situated. Translation. Similarly, the personality of God had enjoyed life in the city of Dwaraka, strictly in conformity with the Vedic customs of society. He was situated in detachment and knowledge, as enunciated by the Sankhya system of philosophy. Purport. While Maharaj Yudhisthira was the emperor of the earth, Lord Sri Krishna was the king of Dwaraka, and he was known as Dwarkadish. Like other subordinate kings, he was under the reign of Maharaj Yudhisthira. Although Lord Sri Krishna is the supreme emperor of the entire creation, while he was on this earth, he never violated the principles of the Vedic injunctions because they are the guide for human life. Regulated human life according to the Vedic principles which are based on the system of knowledge called Sankhya philosophy, is the real way of enjoyment of the necessities of life. Without such knowledge, detachment, and custom, the so-called human civilization is no more than an animal society of eat, drink, be merry, and enjoy. The Lord was acting freely as he willed, yet by his practical example, he taught not to lead a life which goes against the principles of detachment and knowledge. Attainment of knowledge and detachment, as very elaborately discussed in Sankhya philosophy, is the real perfection of life. Knowledge means to know that the mission of the human form of life is to end all the miseries of material existence, and that in spite of having to fulfill the bodily necessities in a regulated way, one must be detached from such animal life. Fulfilling the demands of the body is animal life, and fulfilling the mission of the spirit soul is the human mission. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Bastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Itinamane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharne Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Pratyasya Teshatarne. Here in Srimad Bhagavatam, in the purport, in the verse describes about Sankhya. So Sankhya means the factual knowledge by which one could get out of the tanglement of this material world. And also it's mentioned here, Jnana. Jnana means knowledge. So knowledge means to understand oneself, who one actually is. And this is, and what one actually is, one is a servant of Krishna. And one's position is to surrender to Krishna. So it's mentioned in Bhagavad Gita that after many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. So this is required in human society. If we don't surrender in knowledge to Krishna, then we're simply in ignorance. In ignorance, we think of surrendering to so many things except Krishna. So those who are in ignorance, they think, I have to surrender to my wife. But those who are actually in knowledge, they surrender to Krishna. This is actually somebody who's intelligent. And this knowledge, understanding I'm spirit soul, is referred to as aham brahmasmi. I am not this matter. I'm spirit. This is real knowledge. It's not simply a matter of attaining a university degree. This is not knowledge. Knowledge is understand I am spirit. I am not this body. But those who are in ignorance, they are thinking that I am this body made out of bile, mucus, and stool. That's how they think. Bile, mucus, and air. That's their conception. They think that this land that I'm born in, this is worshipable. The byproducts of this body are my kinsmen. And this way, they have so many false conceptions of life. In this way, they go on in their life. But also, one who's actually in knowledge, he sees that other living entities that are also born in this land, they are also spirit souls. Not that I should simply protect this body, but also the other animals, the cows, the dogs, all living entities, they are also spirit souls. I am moving because I have a spirit. The cows, the dogs are also moving because they have a spirit. And this is the vision of one who is in true knowledge. As is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, the humble sage by true knowledge sees the gentle brahmana, the cow, the dog eater, the elephant. He sees them with equal vision. He sees them all as spirit soul. So in this way, this is true vision. But those who are materialistic, they lack that vision. Therefore, we see there's so many violence in the world, so much suffering, because people don't see the spirit. They simply see matter. So knowledge, people speak, the scientists speak of so many big words, so many volumes, they write so many volumes of books, but it's simply all nonsense. Simply nonsense. It has no meaning. But Vedic knowledge, real knowledge, it has minimum words and has maximum solution. Like Prabhupada gave the example of, in the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated, Dehino sminyata dehe komoram yovanam jara tata dehantara praptir diras tataran muryati. As the embodied soul continually passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, similarly, the soul passes into another body at death. The self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. So in this way, there's so much understanding, the understanding of who we are, what happens at the time of death, how this body, it isn't simply a combination of chemicals, but it's spiritual in nature. And even after the death of the body, it continues on. So only in 2 lines, Krishna explains this, where the nonsense philosophers had to talk volumes and volumes of words and write volumes and volumes of books, but it simply has no value, has no meaning to it. So to understand this knowledge of Krishna consciousness, one has to approach somebody who's expert in this knowledge. Just like the example is given, if you want to become a good thief, then you have to approach somebody who's actually an expert thief. So if you want to attain any type of knowledge, you have to approach someone who's expert in that knowledge. What to speak of knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in this way, we have to approach the spiritual master, the guru. Guru means he's heavy, he's expert. He's heavier than you in your scanty knowledge. So one must approach a spiritual master. It's not a question of, well, I may or may not. No, one must approach a spiritual master. In this way, one will get perfect knowledge and able to transcend the modes of material nature. So this knowledge is mentioned throughout the Vedic literature, and actually in the Bhagavad Gita mentions there's 18 items of knowledge in the 13th chapter. Of course, one of those is approaching a bona fide spiritual master, becoming Krishna conscious, the perception of the evils of birth, death, old age, and disease. So these are the real problems of life: birth, death, old age, and disease. And a devotee, he keeps these things in front of him. He wants to remember that these are the real problems of life. In this way, a devotee is pessimistic about material life. And unless one is pessimistic of material life, there's no question of making any spiritual advancement. So these are the different evils. And we're right now, the living entities are in the tight grip of Maya. We're in the tight grip of Maya, and but this human form of life is an opportunity to get out of this tight grip of Maya, out of the grip of birth, death, old age, and disease. So we have to take advantage of this, and if we don't take advantage of this, then we're missing out on a great opportunity. Srila Prabhupada gives the example of the bird. The bird, the master has a bird, and he lets the bird out of the cage. But the bird is thinking, well, at this time, the bird could actually fly away. He's free now. But no, what does he do? He comes back into the cage. Just like some people, they raise pigeons, and they let them out of the coop, and then they whistle a certain tune, they whistle, and the birds understand, oh, now it's time to eat. So they come back voluntarily into the pigeon coop. But they don't understand that actually this coming back here is my death. Because what do? They raise pigeons, they use them for racing, win prizes, and then they also kill the birds and they eat the birds. So this is their actual death. But they're not intelligent to understand that I should leave. I have the freedom now. I should get out of here. Or like the animal in the slaughterhouse. Prabhupada says the animal right in front of him is being killed. And he's thinking, oh, I won't be killed. It's not possible. So similarly, we're in a similar situation. So many of our friends, so many of our relatives have died, but we are thinking, no, I'm not going to die. So this is the most wonderful thing. Thousands of people are going into the cruel hands of death, but they are thinking that I will live for a very long time. I don't have a problem. Of course, this is on the other side, this is a very natural thing, because actually we don't want to die because we actually are eternal. That's our actual nature. So there's different ways of looking at this. So this world is full of suffering. It's a world of duality. We are thinking this is good and this is bad, but actually it's all bad. Just like the example is given, a wet stool, a dry stool. It's simply stool. So this Prabhupada explains this material world is simply stool, and one should simply get out of it. One shouldn't stay here and try to enjoy this material world. So one who is intelligent, one will understand that anything material that has no connection with Krishna is simply stool. One should just give it up just like stool. Otherwise, one is wasting his valuable time in solving the real problems of life, which are birth, death, old age, and disease. So we have to be focused and understand what the real necessities of life are. So we have been in this material world for a very, very long time. We have fallen from Vaikuntha because we wanted to enjoy this material world, and but we had to make progress to go back to home, back to Godhead. So Prabhupada says, therefore, that he said we fell just like Jai and Vijay, and now we want to go back home. Therefore, we say back to home, back to Godhead. So we came here because we wanted to become the master. So Krishna said, okay, go to the material world and become a master. Because we cannot become a master in the spiritual world because there's only one master. And as mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a kingdom where only one man lives. So in this way, Krishna is the only master. So we wanted to enjoy separately. We want to become the enjoyer. So he let us come to the material world with a bunch of other living entities so we could all pretend that we are the enjoyer, that we are the master. And of course that doesn't work out very nicely because we're always fighting with each other and suffering from the threefold miseries. So we came here first as Lord Brahma. When we came to the material world, first came Lord Brahma, and then it is natural in the material world things became more and more degraded, and then we find ourselves in so many lower species of life. So we have to become Krishna conscious. As Krishna says about the great souls in the Bhagavad Gita, always chanting my glories, endeavoring with determination, always bowing down before me, the great souls perpetually worship me in devotion. So endeavoring with great determination means, specifically it mentions about following the various fast days such as Ekadasi and the different appearance days of the Lord. So by doing these things, some people say, well, why do I have to fast? Why do I have to do so many things like this? The Prabhupada mentions these fast days are there for obtaining the association of the Supreme Personality of God in the spiritual world. So these different austerities are there for purification, and they help us purify ourselves so we go back to home, back to Godhead. So in spiritual life, every moment is new. In spiritual life, we become more and more enthusiastic. There's more and more enthusiasm. And this is a sign that we're engaging in spiritual life. But if we feel lazy, just like probably an example of Mangala Artik, he said if we feel lazy for Mangala Artik, then we should understand that we're not serving spiritually, but we are serving materially. So we have to be enthusiastic. We shouldn't understand this, accept Krishna consciousness with enthusiasm, not that it's hackneyed or stereotyped. So in this way, we should try to please Krishna, not simply do it in a stereotyped way, in a hackneyed way, but with great determination. So in this way, we should follow these principles, set a good example. Just like it was mentioned in the purport, Krishna sets the example for society. So we also had to set a good example by following these principles, coming to Mangalartik, Otherwise, we are setting a bad example, and that is detrimental to ourselves and to helping others to become Krishna conscious. So by following these principles, our spiritual perfection is guaranteed. So this is the necessity to follow this, and everybody should follow this and become advanced in spiritual life. Prabhupada even mentions about Mangalartik. He says the guests should come. That's come to the temple. The guests, they should rise early in the morning for Mangalartik, and the children, like when Prabhupada explained the Gurukul, when they're like 5 years old, they should rise up early in the morning and also come to Mangalartik. So this is required to come to Mangalartik. So this knowledge is there in Srila Prabhupada's books. Therefore, he said that all the members in the society should read all the books that have been translated. Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, etc. Otherwise, after some time, they'll simply eat, sleep, or fall down. So this is very much required. Srila Prabhupada, devotees would ask him from time to time that how much time should we spend studying your books and or having classes, and he gave different answers. I think one time he said like 4 or 5 hours a day. But in one letter, or is it a conversation, he said actually 2 hours is sufficient to have classes to study my books like that. So this should be the minimum that all the devotees should engage in at least 2 hours a day. There's morning, like we're having the morning program. There's also supposed to be the evening program. But if somehow or another one can't come to the evening program, if one lives far away or one may have different service during that time, then at least they should read an hour a day of Srila Prabhupada's books. And that way they'll have like 2 hours like that. So in this way, they'll stay strong in Krishna consciousness. So bhakti not only is knowledge, but there's vairagya, as mentioned in the purport. So bhakti means vairagya vidya. So this is required to be detached. That's the vairagya means renunciation or detachment. So unless one is detached from material life, then one can't make advancement. And the example is given of Lord Chaitanya. He took sannyas when he was very, very young. He was only 24 years old, and he had a very nice, beautiful wife, and a nice mother. But he gave everything and took sannyas. And the Goswamis, such as Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, they were big ministers. They had so much money, they were given so much glorification, but still they gave everything up, and they took up to Lord Chaitanya's movement. So this renunciation is necessary. And this renunciation is there, and one can't have renunciation if one is addicted to sinful activities. This is not possible. But to be free from sinful activities, one has to take shelter of Krishna. Therefore, not only do we follow the 4 regulated principles, but we also chant Hare Krishna. Otherwise, simply to follow the 4 regulated principles is not possible. Unless one chants 16 rounds a day, we cannot follow these principles. So therefore, Prabhupada gave us do this and don't do that. Both of these things are required in Krishna consciousness. So if one wants to understand Krishna, then one has to give up sinful life. Otherwise, it is not possible. Krishna is not so cheap. So people, they're engaging in so much sinful activities. People wondering why there's so much suffering in the world. it's because they are engaging in sinful activities. And by engaging in sinful activities, they can't understand who is God. So people think, why is there suffering? Why is there war? Why do so many people have to die? It's because the people are sinful. Just within a year, the statistics are that within a year, all around the world, over 324 million cows are killed. And within a year, over 46 million babies are aborted. So probably equates the killing of cows and the killing of babies as equal. So when one kills the cows, one has to suffer for every hair on the cow's body. One has to suffer a hellish birth. And by killing the babies, one has to take birth in the womb and be killed, and take birth in the womb again and be killed. And this way, one won't see the light of the sun or the moon for many, many years. So this is very, very sinful. And this is a cause of suffering. Suffering is caused by sinful activity. So until we give up sinful activity, it's not possible to be free from the hellish condition that we find ourselves in. So we have to take up Krishna consciousness, give up sinful activity, be detached. Real detachment means yukta vairagya, to engage everything in Krishna's service. Because actually nothing belongs to us, everything belongs to Krishna. So it's not a matter of, in the sense that I don't want this, I don't want this, it's not yours to begin with. And if you take it, then that's also criminal. Just like Prabhupada gave the example, if you go into the Bank of America and you say that I want your money, then you're a thief. You're a criminal. And if you say, I renounce all this, then you're considered a madman. So either way, that's not the right understanding. The right understanding is this money belongs to the bank, or all properties belong to Krishna and is meant to be used in his service. So material life is, main principle of material life is sex life. So people are very enthusiastic for sex life, society, friendship, and love. And without this, they have no enthusiasm. They can't go on. But a devotee, he doesn't need this. He's enthusiastic simply by serving Krishna. So if one could give this up, if one could give up this sex life, then one is understood to be a liberated soul. One is known as a jiva mukta, or one who is liberated even in this material body. So in this way, we have to understand this knowledge, become like a puppet of our spiritual master. So we always are controlled, whether it's controlled by the three modes of material nature, just like there's that painting of the three modes, and we're like a puppet on strings, and we're being controlled by goodness, passion, and ignorance. So this is how Maya works. She works under she's known as Trigunamayi, who's in charge of the three modes of material nature. So we're either under Maya's direction, or we're under the direction of Krishna, or the spiritual master. So if we work under the direction of the spiritual master, then we become liberated. Then we become happy. As Krishna says, become an instrument in the fight. So become an instrument in the fight, if we work under the direction of the spiritual master, if we become a puppet of the predecessor Acharya and live in the society of devotees, then our life is a success. Otherwise, it's simply a failure. So in this way, Krishna consciousness means is to preach Krishna consciousness. It's our duty to preach Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada said that this is our duty. He said, I never came to America because he said, I didn't come to America because they needed me, that they wanted me. I came here because it was my duty. What my spiritual master told me to do this. So in this way, we should spread Krishna consciousness. We shouldn't think that if it's needed or it's not needed. Just like the cloud. The cloud pours water on the mountain, although it is not needed. The cloud pours water in the sea, although it's not needed. So similarly, the rains, they pour everywhere. So similarly, we should spread Krishna consciousness everywhere, whether we think it's needed or not. So this preaching, Prabhupada said, it will take some time, but the people will come. He said they will appreciate our propaganda. So the people here are suffering in the darkness of illusion, and this Krishna consciousness is their only hope. It's their only hope. It's not a story, it is a fact. So in this way, Prabhupada requested his disciples. He said that you should be very serious in Krishna consciousness. You should read the books, progress in spiritual life, and in this way, go back to home, back to Godhead. So we could stop there. Is there any questions on any of these points?
Hare Krishna. Before you take any questions, we have a 2-minute video, an update directly from Kyiv. Devotees there put out a video last night, so we're going to show that.
Okay, you can show that now? Or what?
Yes, just
okay.
It's a 2-minute video.
Okay.
And then after that, if you want to have discussion, you can do that. Yeah, this brings up the phenomenon that nobody should touch this system over here. 2 nights ago it came in, it was completely off. It should never be turned off. There's a note that says right there, don't turn off the power. Somebody turned it off. Please don't touch this cabinet if you don't know what you're doing. This is what messes up things, and then we run into these kind of situations. Don't touch the cabinet, please.
Okay, so we have the video or what? We're going to just have some questions and answers, and then when you're ready, we'll start. Okay, Sampriya, would you like to say?
Especially for English-speaking devotees, I'm Rajagopal Das from Ukraine, from Kyiv. Behind me you can see the biggest temple in Europe, Hare Krishna temple. And many devotees from different countries asking me what is going on, what is the situation in Kyiv. And now is 25th, morning 25th of February. And now more or less situation among devotees is stable, no victims. You see first floor or ground floor anyway, we are preparing our temple just for bombing, potential bombing, and of course everyone is afraid, everyone is disturbed, and we are very grateful to you, all the devotees, for your prayers, for your mercy, and we really want to ask you for your blessings just for remembering Krishna. We absolutely do not know what is going on because we do not trust our news, but it is really dangerous. Every morning, every day, sirens are loudly chanting their mantras around the Kyiv, and as far as we know that the Kyiv, capital of Ukraine, is the main point of Putin. So at this moment everything is stable. I hope that by Krishna's mercy we will keep our Krishna consciousness and can be helpful to Srila Prabhupada in preaching in this very panic situation which is around among the population of Ukraine. So please let us receive your blessings just to be merciful instruments in the hands of Srila Prabhupada during this dangerous time. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
You do nouns?
No sweat. Pretty good.
Song for you?
300. I like it.
You get a better price when you come direct to the distributor.
I guess so.
Alright. Yeah, so she'll.